your background.
My background is so festive. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of Two Wizards and a Mic, where a couple of old dudes talk about an old game that's been around forever and how awesome it is and how you can have a better time at the table because we're always spouting pearls of wisdom because we're smarty pantses. Today, we're talking about this book that just came out, just landed. What's it called again?
It's called The World of Myrr, Shane. The World of
Excellent.
Myrr. Yes.
That looks epic. So, how does it feel?
It feels very satisfying, actually, more satisfying than any of the other books. Yeah,
Excellent.
because it's a 10-year, basically 10-year journey.
So 10 years. So when was the first, like, when did this idea spark? Like, what were you doing? Where were you? What was up?
Well, it was right as I decided that I should get back into D&D, and I wondered, why did I ever leave? And so it didn't originally start as the idea of building a world. I decided, that I didn't even know how long I was going to be back in the game. I didn't know the people I was playing with. They needed a DM. And I decided just to start with a village, and one that had roots of a story that could grow and grow and grow. And
Nice.
yeah, eventually that's what it's turned into, as a continent with nine continents in the world. This is a campaign setting for 5e and any TTRPG because there's almost no mechanics in it. And yeah, I think it's one of the most detailed fantasy settings you're going to find. So at the beginning here, there's a prophecy that sort of gives an overview of some of the elements of the world. And here you get a hint to why the world is named after this one wizard, World of Myrr. And he has really changed the world now because he has created portals to enable people to travel around the world and around the multiverse. And before, these 9 continents really grew up separately and evolved separately. And now, because of these portals, that's going to change everything. But you basically get 9 worlds in one in some ways.
I was gonna say with the multiverse, cosmology, the good lord, geography, villages.
Yeah.
Look at all
So,
of this information.
yeah. So if we just move a little bit ahead here, I can show you. So here it gives you an overview of the 9 continents, what the different worlds are like. There's some art of one of the factions, the evil snow elves, the Vothdar, who are trying to take over the world. And you basically arrive at this world on this threshold of a number of factions making major moves. And one of them is that the Vothdar want to conquer the world.
I think that they are kind of jerks.
Yeah, pretty much. Here we give you some locations in the world where you can fit your own homebrew adventures, and we really designed it so that that's easy to do. And then you get a map of the entire world, and all the maps that are in the book, you get PDF high-res versions to use in your game as well. And then we talk about the cosmology, the makeup of what is this world really like. So we talk about hell and the afterlife, and where do aberrations come from, and what happens with undead and reincarnation. So we give you a broad overview. And then we get into something really unique, which is our own pantheon for this world, of a group of deities. These deities have never been around for any other system. They're not inspired by any gods. They're totally unique. And one of them is the god of wisdom, Balthor, who the artist Travis illustrated there.
It's pretty cool. I'm actually looking at this going, oh yeah, some of my characters. I remember worshiping, I think it was Low.
Right?
And then there
Yeah.
was another one. I think it was Rand or Rogan. Sorry, not Rand. Rogan.
right?
And I think also uh, one of my characters. I think it was Lyra. I think. Where's Lyra?
Yeah, she's in there
Yeah, there we
too.
go.
Yeah,
I think that was my dancing giant or my dancing
you're Goliath.
my Goliath. I think he was
Yeah.
Lyra.
So here we yeah, we have and we do there's quite a lot of detail like for there's two gods of wisdom actually who are slightly different. Well, not slightly, they are quite different. And there's two gods of death too. One who really his domain is more the positive elements and the kind of more of an overview of what death is, and then there's one who is into more the destruction and the decomposition of death. And then we have some gods for different races too. There's the god of the dwarves right there. There's
Dalen.
yeah,
Whoa.
Dalen. And then you've got the god of death, Morthos. His image is there down below. Yeah, yeah. So we give you a lot of detail. There's the goddess of the hunt, and then the last one there
Oh.
pictured is Wayne. He's the god of transitions and death. So more of an overview, a more philosophical view of death and transitions. And then what we do is we go into the 9 continents. The first thing that we do, we give you a full page picture. That's for Zog. And then we give you
Okay.
a summary of the continent and then the continent map. And for Zog, actually, there's two maps because it has defined kingdom boundaries. So the one
Okay.
pictured here is the one that shows you the different boundaries of the kingdoms. Yeah, and then we give you encounter and event tables as well, plus a magic item unique to that area.
Oh,
Yeah,
really? Rogan's shield. Oh, cool.
and then a bit of the
Sorry.
history, and we even get into the calendar and the weather.
Good day, River Day. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Bloom time.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Some of this is all coming back to me because you were. I remember we had some adventures where we were very specific, like paying attention to the time of year because we were going to a festival, I think, and but it only and that festival happened. Was it during bloom time? I think it was bloom time. I want to say bloom time.
yeah, it would have been in the spring of the summer. So bloom time is spring in on Zog and Mir, and sun time is the summer. So it would have been one of those warmer months for sure. Yeah, you went to a music festival when you were chasing
Yeah.
a coven of hags.
Exactly.
Yeah.
um, services, dangerous church. Oh, that doesn't sound good. Just for anyone listening or watching, I have not read this book. I only had a brief gander at one of the what do they call it, like the proof printings, and so I'm kind of discovering as we go. Some of the imagery is actually very familiar though. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was two of your original companions in when we started in the World of Mir. That Sorsha and Thumps, the
Thumps.
the fighter and rogue slash bard. So yeah, and then
And
we
then we
after
go.
we give
Oh,
you an
cool.
overview, then we get into the settlements. And this book is that's what most of this book is. There's 280 villages, cities, and towns.
Oh, wow.
And you get a lot of detail. You get who leads it. Um, you get what resources are there, what's their guard like, and also some geography. That's the part Shane's going through right now. So you hear about the mountains and the bodies of water, forests, and then you get into the settlements. You find out, who's the leader, what factions are there, and that's what most of the book is. And there's some illustrations of the leaders and sometimes what the settlements look like.
Oh, wow. Duskland, King's Hall. Damn, Travis, you're good.
Yeah, so we should again say all the art is by Travis Hanson, who illustrated all our Monster series books too. And the other person who worked on this book is another person from Vancouver, where we're based. Philip Stephen did all the continent maps and the world map, and he's been doing those for about the past 7 or 8 years. So I'm really glad. Yeah, there's the world map. I'm really glad that we got to complete the world with the same artist for the map and the art. I think it makes a big difference.
Yeah, what's different? What's new about this map compared to the one that I've seen for the last several years? Is there anything new? Like, is it
Um, yeah, the world map we originally called the Norvold, which is sort of inspired by Scandinavian
up
culture
in here?
and also the Skyrim game. It's the left hand continent on the top there, the left like northern continent. Um,
Right?
that
What?
one originally we named after their deity, who is Saul, and then I decided that's just not a good name. And I renamed the people. They're actually called the Norvins, and I thought, yeah, Norvold would be a really good name for their continent. And
Well,
there's a
that's
few
cool.
details that Phil has added over time, but the really big change is in the continent maps. They have a lot more detail, especially
Right.
the middle one is where we started. The tiny Mir continent in the very middle. That is where everything started. And that map has changed quite a bit because originally we didn't have every single settlement on it. But now for this
Right.
book, we added all the villages that were missing on it. So people who had the original Mir book for just that continent will see some changes. We also used to have a few more 5e specific creatures like Dragonborn and Tiefling. Those aren't in the world anymore. We tried to make it more usable by any fantasy tabletop game. So we pulled things out and we really made something that is inspired by original D&D and especially the world of Greyhawk that Gary Gygax wrote and created. So it's not the same, but it's definitely inspired by it. And it's it's a heroic fantasy world which you can easily use your own for your own stories.
Well, exactly, because if somebody wanted to, for example, have a tiefling character or a particular species that was not, that's not here, and there's also a few differences. Like there, you've got some custom dwarves, you have some other elements like that. Um, that's where creativity comes in, where it's like, oh well, I want to have tieflings, so they have tieflings, and they come up with this story of why they're there. It's not totally. Uh, it's not so. "No, you can't have it. What is wrong with you?" But
Yeah.
overall, I gotta say, this does look gorgeous. I like discovering this stuff. What stretch goals did we hit, or did we hit any?
We did it. You mean for the World of Mirror?
Yeah.
For the World of Mirror, yeah, we got those full page pieces of art for each chapter for each different continent, which I think makes a huge difference in the book because those are expensive and they are spectacular. So that was the one I can remember off the top of my head. And yeah, you can see here a number of there's illustrations for a number of the leaders and we've also included some maps in there. I thought that would look good.
It does look good. I like, especially when you have like, here's the town, here's the map of it. But I'm looking for. I want to see some full page art. Where's the full page
Sure,
art?
yeah. That's for Norvold. Yeah.
That's cool. That is very very cool. I seem to recognize that beast.
Yeah, that's our sea serpent, and that's one of the reasons all these continents evolved separately and grew up, you know, remotely by themselves, is because the oceans were just so deadly, and they still are, and this is one of the main reasons why.
That's very, very, very cool. So, what other things do you have that you want to mention about this big launch?
Well, I should say for the book itself, we go through all the continents, and the very back, there's also tables for there's reasons why the climate and nature has changed in the world of Mir, and so there's tables for that. There's also information and a table about how the portals work or don't work sometimes. And then at the very back, there's a really detailed tavern menu that gives you the food and drinks from different places in the world, and even where the mead and the wine is brewed and distilled. And then at the very back there's a little table and information about inns, how just a quick chart of how to run an inn, some encounters you could have and people who could be there. So we think there's a lot contained in there. You could run a lot of adventures just using this book, and it's available on our website in PDF form. That's the best price you can get. If you want the printed books, those are available now at DriveThruRPG, and they also have the PDF on DriveThru, and we'll put the links for those below. The last time I checked, it was in the top 20 for all the books on sale in DriveThru right now, and it was in the top 3 for D&D and number 1 for 5e. So it's done pretty well starting out.
How do I find the top sellers?
So that top table there, if you just click on, that's the very top one goes up, think up to the 12th. So if you click that red arrow there on that, yeah,
Up here?
no, back down
Or
where,
down?
yeah,
Oh,
there.
right here.
Yeah, so there it is.
There
So
it
it's moved
is.
up to number 14.
14?
Yeah, but that includes
Nice.
that's all their products. That's not just D&D. That's all their science fiction books and all their other role-playing games, the Western ones and everything. So it's had a good
That's awesome.
initial reaction, and we're trying to get the word out to people, let them know, hey, this would be a great holiday gift, Christmas present.
Oh, totally. I there's so much content on here. But
Yeah,
anyway.
there is. Yeah, yeah.
Wow. But overall, I gotta say I'm impressed. Like I mean, here's the thing. I've seen your past products; they're really great. Travis is awesome. Phil is awesome. So there's nothing you could actually do to go wrong with this at all. I don't think.
And your pug agrees.
My pugs agree. They're currently deciding that they should be shouting into the hallway about how amazing the World of Mirror book is. So now that it's out the door, are you gonna take some? Are you gonna take a break? Are you gonna actually take some time off now?
I am. I'm just getting the backer kit ready for the last adventure book we kickstarted, the Fall of Rivenhelm, and I'm finishing that manuscript. So I've just got a few more days to work on that. Most of that is done, the manuscript. So for Rivenhelm, if anyone's listening from that Kickstarter, um, the next steps are to get the maps made and the art and the layout. That'll probably happen in January. And the good news for the people with the previous adventure, The Rise of the Mushroom King, is that book is on its way here. Last time I checked, it was in Ontario, making its way from the United States. So it should be here very soon. And we'll put photos online when that arrives, because we haven't seen what those adventures look like yet in print. And those are set in the World of Myrr, although they don't have to be. And yeah, and then after that, yeah, after next week for sure, we're going to close down for a couple of weeks. And yeah, we've been also had a bit of a break after the last Kickstarter. So we've
Nice.
yeah, as much of a break you can have with other things in life. And but yes, we have had some time. I've been playing a lot of Skyrim as part of that break. So
Nice, nice.
yeah.
I recently have been spinning up Cyberpunk 2077 again.
Mm,
Haven't played it. I played it last year sometime, or maybe the year before, whenever, after it was not crappy anymore, and then and then I realized, wait a minute, I should stop playing this because the holidays are like gonna land hard, like in the next week and a half.
yeah, yeah.
So I thought, you know what, I better take some time to actually. I'll use that for my time when I can just sit in my jammies and sip cocoa and eat candy canes and do nothing
Right,
for a few
right.
days.
Well, and have your Starfield character collect coffee.
That's right. I still have. You know what's really funny? I haven't played Starfield for a little while because
Wow.
I was waiting for the that Shattered Suns
Oh
DLC
yeah,
to drop, and because I spoilers for anyone who's playing Starfield, the whole idea of the game is you actually go from multiverse to multiverse. Shh! Don't tell anyone. But each world is very, very different, and I think there's 9 of them or 7 of them or something. There's not just 2 or 3. There's actually quite a few. But I've gone to a couple of the other worlds, and it's so bizarre. It's kind of awesome. But then I thought, wait a minute, I'm getting so far ahead. I should really wait till the
right,
Shattered Sun
right.
thing comes out.
I
And
would like
and
turning
actually,
everything into Star Wars. I have the droid
I
mods and
I,
the
yeah, I did
Imperial.
that because you told me about it. And I'm like, oh, I got to do it. So
Yeah.
I'm like the stormtroopers and weaponry. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Makes it so much better
And
because one of the main problems is how bad the NPCs are in that game. Um, so
yeah.
that helps quite a bit when you change most of them to Imperial or Rebel troops and droids, and that improves it from whatever they were trying to do before.
Oh, exactly. Like I think things like those little weird add-ons that you can do, like those perks, not perks, but they're story changing potentially. Like
Mhm.
your character can have parents or not. Your
Right,
character
right.
can have a house or not.
Yeah.
Um, but I do recommend. I highly recommend the game. It is entertaining. It's just I think it's different. I think that's what most people run into is that it's a different type of game. But RPGs in general, video games or tabletop, um, I gotta say I like most of them. Um, but I don't want to bring up anything having to do with Wizards of the Coast. But I gotta
I think
say
you did.
I just did. But here's all I'm gonna say. It's so sad.
Well, what I can say on a more positive note is a stretch goal we just missed. We missed with our last adventure. We're still going to try to do that, and what that is as part of the next adventure, which will likely go to Kickstarter late February, that sort of timeline. We want to make a player's handbook for the World of Myrr, and that will really,
Oh,
yeah, that will sort of round out the world because we have made a book for the factions, for the history. We're doing one for the inns and taverns. That one's taking longer than we thought. It'll probably be finished by the end of January. It's a lot more work. We could have just cut and pasted, but we wouldn't have had nearly as good a book because we have a lot of
right.
info. We could have just cut and pasted from old books, but we're not going to do that. So so anyway, those 3 books help give you more info for the world. But we also want to have a player's book that gives you more information on the new races, gives you new classes, gives you some of actually it collects all of the magic items and spells that we've had in all of our books and puts it in one place and gives you little details like sayings because we even have things in the world of Mir we've made sayings that people who, for example, the goddess of the home and food and earth. Her name is Nizath, and she embodies all of those elements. But
That is cool.
when over time, when people were doing this is a god that a lot of the common people, so-called, an average person would be worshiping, and they are often the people doing the harder work. And in frustration, people have used her name over time so that this common saying, Nizath, your dog apparently
She doesn't like Nizath at all.
that. But people who are frustrated with something, or basically it's like a curse or something like that, they'll shout out Nizath when they make a mistake, or maybe they stub their toe or they injure their hand or whatever when they're working. So we actually have a list of sayings and how they came to be, that we didn't include in that big book, because if we'd included everything we wanted in there, it would have been 1,000 pages long, or you know
Yeah.
500 pages long. No, actually, it probably would have been 1,000, because the Inns book is going to be 200 or 300 pages, I think. So we have a few other elements of Mir that it would be cool to have for, especially for players, because we haven't actually made that many resources for players. We have all of our NPC books players can use as pre-generated characters, and we have hundreds of those
Right.
characters made. But most of our books are for the game master. Our monster books, and there's World of Myrr. So we'd like to have a handbook for the players that could have, again, races, classes, magic items, spells, and we could do that. It's feasible as part of the next Kickstarter when we make another adventure book. I think there's a feasible way to make that um, yeah, I think we could we didn't reach the stretch goal this time to get it, but I think next time we probably could.
Nice. Well, I
Yeah.
hope we do. Because it's, I just like it when stretch goals get hit because, it just adds more stuff that people can have access to. So I kind of like those. Ah, the holidays. Do you feel like you're coming off like a Kickstarter high and now you can, just buckle down, do a few more things?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. We did take, a day or two and just relaxed after the last Kickstarter, and we even took a break from being online a bit then as well. That's always a nice break to take. And as I said, we have a few things to do, but it's not very long until we close things up for a couple of weeks. And
Nice.
yeah,
Well, the only reason I really bring it up is that for those of you who don't know the behind the scenes action on this show, we normally record on Tuesdays. And Andrew sent me a message. I think it was on Sunday night or maybe early Monday. You're like, by the way, taking a couple of days off. I need to rest. Can we
yeah,
record on Thursday? And I'm like, oh yeah, totally, no problem. It was good. But it was just kind of funny because I had been thinking about that. About okay, the thing is done. It's launched. It's out the
yeah,
door.
yeah.
And then you're like, I just need to lie down.
Yeah, yeah. No, I find, especially after running a Kickstarter, and also after finishing a book, like, once it's launched, yeah, for sure you have to have some kind of work-life balance. And in the past we never would have heard about that, from an artist or a writer, or a different creative kind of person, or person doing any kind of job. But now we get to hear, yes, there has to be some kind of balance.
Right.
Like, one thing I do is I rarely ever work late at night, and that was a rule I gave myself when I was a student. And yeah, I think you've got to find your kind of what's your rhythm, what works. And some people have night shifts, and that's a whole other kind of dynamic
Oh
you have
yeah.
to work. Um, so yeah, you have to try to figure out, what's the best way to do that, for sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, you nailed it right on. Ooh, my desk just moved. Oh, hello. Hi. I have a pug suddenly pressing buttons on my stand-up desk. Um, well, that's why I asked because it's like all of this work has gone into the World of Myrr book, and I know you have more on the horizon. You've got the next adventure book, and you've talked before about different plans for additional books in the future. And I just wanted to kind of illustrate that you're not just creating books, you're actually running like a small business to actually make content and have all kinds of cool things going on. To expand the universe of tabletop gaming and it's just basically, I mean, yes, you have Travis who has a particular job, you have other people doing other particular jobs, but essentially it's your imagination and your creativity that is the spark for all of it. And it's hard work. It's not, it would be great if it was all fun and games, and there are definitely a bulk of time where it's enjoyable, but then at the end of the day, it's like, I got to turn this into a product. I can't just sit, on my sofa and think about cool adventures that people could go on. No, you've got all that stuff. So I just wanted to applaud you. This is all my whole point, and everybody else who worked on it directly. So I encourage people to go out and support again small publishers who are doing all kinds of hard work, and there's tons of them out there. The RPG drive-through RPG book website is only one place where you can find them. So I encourage you to go there and check out what's available because, as you said earlier, Christmas is just about here. And, a PDF is easy to wrap. It's very easy to wrap.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about finding a place. But if you want to get a softcover or hardcover version...
Oh, really? Tell us more.
Well, as I mentioned, the links will be below. But I think they did a very good job with I have the hardcover there and the soft covers in the office here too. And they look really good. They're actually the biggest book we've had printed. The monster books got bigger over time, and they got to around 150 pages. But this one is 230. So the Kickstarter version, the PDF was the same size. The printed book was smaller because we had a limited budget, obviously. And now, because the PDF and that file is finished, we can offer basically this is like the second version of the World of Myrr book, which is the full completed version. And the difference is that this one has several extra pages, about 50 pages or so of villages that aren't included before. And we also originally had 3 supplements published for the continents of Mir, Nairn, and Mazan. So all of that is being redone and put into this book.
Which means that you have inadvertently created collector's items. Honestly, the reason I just mentioned that is that I have a client who's been publishing magazines since the 70s. And one of the things that they were complaining about was, I wish we had kept copies of everything, but we don't seem to have them because, over the years stuff gets misplaced or whatever. And I sent them over to Amazon. I'm like, here you go. Here's the one you were talking about. People are selling the stuff,
Wow.
because they've had it in their homes or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, this is still useful. So, yeah, I'm like, you could totally buy that again. I mean, sure, it's a bit weird, but, you published it. You don't have a copy, so why not? But
Yeah, it's funny. We have a few books that are sort of collector's items for us because they're the proofs that didn't work.
right,
So
of course.
usually the layout is done and the book is all organized. It goes off to the printer and it comes back and it's fine. But sometimes, like one of the monster books, one image in the entire book, everything was perfect, but one image, the art covered a little bit of text. So we've paid for it to be printed. We paid to it be shipped to us. Now we have to do it all over again. So I have a few books around the office that had little details that we had to make sure were fixed before the Kickstarter backers got it. And I remember the time the word monsters was spelled wrong in one of our first books. So I have some of those original that just say Monters. And that reminds me to always double check even things you assume must be correct to double
Well,
check it.
you are in good company because I remember buying at a bookstore in Portland years ago. We were doing a family trip traveling around the Pacific Northwest, and I went in and I hadn't read the Stephen King book, The Stand. And so I bought a copy of it and I was reading away. And, I'm enjoying this. This is very cool. And then I paused because I realized the word September was spelled wrong. Like a couple of the letters had shifted and there was an extra letter. And I'm like,
Right.
what? So I get through and I realized the entire book, September, was spelled the same way. And I got to the back page and it said proof copy. And I'm like, how did this get to a bookstore? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
totally
it
in good
does
company.
happen to everyone. If you look at the pages, the errata pages for the 5e books, they are for each book, there it's pages and pages of corrections. And one of my favorite ones is in the Philosopher's Stone in the Harry Potter book, the first one, the best-selling book of all time. There's a simple error, and the simple error is that early in the book there's a list of items for, let's just say, wizards and witches to get without giving away the story, although
Right.
a few people might know the story. But there's a list of items they can bring to the school, and it lists them off, like wand, cauldron, robes. And at the beginning of the list, there's the word wand. And at the end of the list, there's the word wand. And they miss this. And, that's the best selling book of all time. So I think that helped editors all around the world feel a bit better.
Well, I would hope so because it is. I mean, I can't imagine an editor having the easiest job if they have multiple projects on the go. Like, could you imagine, like,
No.
just going over the same thing? I mean, you've done this all as well, like going over the
Yeah.
same stuff every like 4 or 5 times.
Oh, more than that.
But
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You read it so many times. And, I think we've got quite a bit better. There's still, one or two errors in the last few books, but the first two hardcovers we had done, there were more errors. Um, but you do learn things over time. And then at the same time, you're also human. You're not AI, thank God.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, humans are not perfect. And so, yeah, it happens sometimes.
and neither is AI because humans created it. But yeah, I mean, it's a hard job, and that's why earlier I was just applauding you because you've done so many books. Some of them were on a shoestring. Then the Kickstarter ones started, and you were able to actually get closer and closer and closer to what you actually wanted, what you sort of envisioned in your head. At least I'm making wild assumptions here, but I mean, Travis, wow, dude, like you need to do more art for Andrew because I like it. It's it's not that watercolory oil paint stuff that looks great, but you know, shaking it up and like having a completely different style than the traditional things. Because I find a lot of D&D books out there, great content, but a lot of them are trying to imitate the books from Wizards, and
Yeah.
um, sometimes you're just like, nah, do we really need that? I don't think so. No, we need something different and unique. But
Yeah, and
but
I
I'm
think
biased, so
yeah, I agree. I think the comic style in general, not just Travis, suits D&D so well, and I'm surprised that it hasn't been done more. Um, there's definitely some of it is definitely like snobbery. There's definitely and just wanting to imitate, like you said, just thinking, oh, we have to copy something for something that was successful. We have to copy it and make it look almost the same. But guess what? AI can do that.
yeah, exactly.
So I can do
Wizards.
something different and use the human power.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is that there's, I mean, if you look at the logo at the very wherever my hand is, at the top of the screen here, that was done by Travis.
Mhm.
And I made sure it looked great, and I made sure to have his name on there as well, even though it's not legible, but you can see it every single time, and we talk about Travis all the time because he's cool. So he's a good partner to have. Christmas, it's here again.
It
How
is.
wonderful. So if I wanted to get, actually, you know what? Doesn't matter. All the links are down below. Don't even have to talk about it. It's all down there. Any final words?
Just that if people want to take a look at it and preview it, the best way would either be to go to our website, and we have pictures in our online shop, a number of pictures of the pages from the book. And then on Drive Through RPG, they have a feature where you can preview products, and the first 16 pages, I think, which give you a good overview. So it shows you the table of contents, it shows you some of the cosmology and the list of the pantheon of deities. So yeah, if you want to take a look and check it out, see what it looks like, there's lots of ways you can do that, and those links will show you where to do it.
Very, very cool. Very, very cool.
And we'll have a
All right,
video. Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
no, no,
We'll
no,
have a
no, no.
video
Go ahead.
later where we will go through the book in more detail. Unless one of our friendly podcasters beats us to it and does it, then we'll post theirs. So
Very
we'll have a
cool.
more thorough video review that we'll get up probably early next year.
I'm looking forward to doing that because that'll be cool. Um, I have to come up with different writers because I keep saying cool today. Just cool. Everything is amazing. Everything is astounding, stunning. But anyway, thank you everyone for watching and or listening. And don't forget, all of the stuff that we've talked about will have links down in the description below. And if you haven't bought the book yet, what are you waiting for? It's just a click away. And of course, you can always find everything at a little website called Cawood Publishing. But you know what? That's the wrong graphic. Cawood Publishing at worldofmyrr.com. That's worldofmyrr.com. And again, thank you everybody. You're all amazing. And I'm sure that next week's conversation is going to be epic because I've already had a small preview of what we're going to be talking about next week, and I was excited by it. So, yeah. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Later.